The Straight Red Card is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Visit Roughneck Scarves for your supporters' gear from Seattle, Portland, New York, to the Philadelphia Union, and anything MLS to the English Premier League. Visit Roughneck Scarves at roughneckscarves.com. We want to welcome to the Straight Red Card former U.S. national team keeper. He played in the 1990 and the 1994 World Cups, Mr. Tony Meola. Tony, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Now, before we get to some of the serious questions, can I ask you one? And this is the ugliest U.S. national team uniforms ever. Would that be the 1994 home kit?
There's no question about it. I was telling somebody the story earlier when they took us in Dallas to unveil those uniforms. They sat us in a room and they were so happy to unveil them, and they lifted up the little curtain that they had, and there was dead silence in the room.
Yeah,
and actually, with an explicative added in there, one of your true Bostonians, Michael Burns, looked at me and said, "You know what are those?" It was. I'll never forget the moment. But yes, you're absolutely right. They win the award.
And now they're just classics, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, with the odd blue with the
blue.
Now
people are dying to have them. I see people still going to stadiums. I do appearances in clinics, and people show up with those.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, many people don't know this because it's not as common now, but you were a multi-sport athlete in high school, and one of the discussions going on in the U.S. soccer now at the youth level, especially with the advent of Claudio Reyna's focus on identifying, talented players at a younger age and focusing on the overall technical skills, is that we might be in that process losing some of these athletes, these overall good athletes that are playing multiple sports, because we are, in fact, identifying talent sooner and sooner. I mean, you were a multi-sport athlete, and a lot of people don't know you actually played in the Yankees farm system. So are you concerned that some of these athletes might be left behind a little earlier because of the way things are going?
It's extremely concerning to me, and I have to delve in a little bit more to Claudio's theory. I think he's saying because of the fact that we're identifying, as you said, that they're leaving the sport because somebody's telling them to leave. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a shame. I think at 10 years old in this country to concentrate on one sport, it's been proven time and time again that it's not good for the kids' bodies. Mm-hmm. They need to cross-train, and the best way to cross-train is to play multiple sports, play basketball, play baseball, go play hockey. Now in the Northeast, lacrosse, it's really, really taking off, and it's really, people will have their opinions on it. But I had a discussion with a guy about this about a week ago, and he said to me, well, there's no more two-sport athletes anymore like you, and I said, there's no more two-sport athletes anymore like me because of guys like you. Because of guys like you telling kids that they have to play one sport when they're 11 and 12 years old. I just don't believe in it. I never will believe in it. I got to be honest, we used to do things like handball and go play basketball and just on off days, and we'd get European guys that would come into the gym with us, and I'll tell you, other than soccer, they were pretty much spazzes. And I just think they could have been so much better off had they done some other thing when they're young. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a couple of U11s who play year-round baseball as well as soccer. And while one of them plays year-round soccer as well, the other one only plays every fall, every now and then, if he's not too worn out. But their coaches actually encourage them during the offseason to go play another sport because, like you're saying, you are cross-training, you are becoming a better athlete in different aspects and just focusing on one attribute.
There's no question. I coach in Toms River, New Jersey, and I don't know if you know about the history of Little League Baseball in Toms River, New Jersey.
Yep.
If you want to coach soccer in Toms River, New Jersey, you better understand that in the spring you're going to have kids playing baseball.
Mm-hmm.
My son is an example. He's an academy level soccer player who is in the final pool for the USA baseball under 14 team. And what am I going to tell my kid? He's got to make a decision. At 13 years old, he's going to be 14 next week. There's no way. I will let it play out as long as possible, and see what happens. If he ever came to me and said, "Dad, I only want to play baseball," well, that's his choice then, right? It's his choice, and I have to find other ways to cross train him, because I still think that doing one thing will be detrimental at this age to his body. But right now, every time he goes to soccer practice, he's got a smile on his face. And every time he goes to baseball practice, he's got a smile on his face, as do my other two kids who play multiple sports. And that's all I need at the age of 13. I have no delusions of grandeur that every kid that we coach is going to be a superstar. I'd rather, I always say, most of us, and I talked to Tab Ramos about this, my old teammate who's got an academy there, we are probably coaching more future coaches, than we're coaching future professional athletes.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah. Very true.
And I'd like to give them an example of how to coach and how to put a team together and how to put a practice together. Very few are going to be fortunate enough. And I look at these academies, and there's parents paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 at 10 years old to play in an academy program, and it just blows my mind.
Things have changed now, and then you even look at sports like tennis. John McEnroe played multiple sports as well. But let's get into some of the things you're up to now, because I'm sure a lot of people want to catch up with that. Can you tell us, let's start with your charity work with Global United FC. Are you still involved with that, and what's that all about?
Well, yeah, that was a little while back. An old teammate of mine, Thomas Dooley, some partners of his, I believe out of Ohio, put a group together, and we've kind of we enjoyed getting together and playing. That was the first. Really, for us, that was one of the first missions, to see if we could actually make it through a game. I have, as you can imagine, a little easier job than they have. But it's extended all the way. We've always said that you have two jobs in this country when you play soccer. One is to play, and the other one's to promote the game. There are guys in other countries that don't necessarily have that task or that burden sometimes, but that's just the reality of the sport in our country. And I'm lucky. I played with a bunch of guys that took on that responsibility. And things have changed, as you mentioned. With the stuff that we're doing here with AllState, these things didn't exist for kids, and it just shows the growth in the sport.
Can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, that was one of the things we wanted to talk about, your project with AllState. And can you fill us in about what that's all about?
Yeah, AllState's in their first year of sponsorship with the U.S. men's national team, and part of that promotion is going around and the night before, I do it generally around national team games and MLS games, and tonight's promotion was we get to surprise a team, which is pretty neat. It's a team. Tonight's team was out of Providence, and the program that we were just with is a group of kids that have to do well in school. They come from some unfortunate situations, some just difficult situations. They earn their right to be there tonight, and it's so neat because AllState goes in and we do a surprise clinic. Get to chat with the kids. We do some juggling stuff, and then at the end, they come back and they give each kid home and away uniforms. It's just a complete kit. Sweatsuits. The goalkeepers get full goalkeeper gear. All kinds of signed stuff, and it's an opportunity to go back and give back to the sport that's given me so much.
Yeah, and we see this a lot. I mean, we've talked to Tony Santa and others, and they're all doing such great work. And, of course, these were some of the guys you played with back in the day. How do you see this making a difference, especially for these kids that are coming from these areas that are less affluent? Do you see that making a big difference down the road for U.S. soccer even, and just for these kids in general?
Well, I guess in situations like this, you focus on the kid and making sure that the kid or kids get themselves on the right path. You know, I did talk to Tony Senna about what he's doing. It's outstanding. I just think our generation of guys have so much to offer these kids. And one of the tasks that Claudio has is getting into the inner city, because it's easy to go to the academy tournaments and see, you know, a whole bunch of really good players.
Yep.
The problem is, and the task is going into the inner city and finding that diamond in the rough. I had an old teammate. You guys might remember Giovanni Savarese in New York, and also played up here in New England.
Now with the Cosmos, right?
That's right. He's now with the Cosmos, and I went to do a promotion with him in Brooklyn one night, and this is 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer, and we both sat there, and if you would have told me that the kids playing in that park were the Nigerian national team, I would have believed you.
Yeah.
And they had all Nigerian national team gear on. They were obviously of Nigerian descent, and these are a bunch of kids playing in a park.
Yeah.
And they were some of the most gifted athletes I've ever seen. So they're out there. Yep. There are kids that can play. The task is trying to find them, and having someone willing to go and study them. And both he and I left that night. We said there are 3 kids on that field that can turn into something and may never have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the, you know, I'm sure you can go into Chicago and find the same thing. You can go to L.A. and find the same thing. You can go to Dallas, find the same thing. All over the country. Yeah. We talk about that number 10 on the field. You know, I got to believe that in places like Miami and Fort Lauderdale and San Diego, there's some really creative kids down there that just never get a chance to play.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's this whole group of Hispanic and even African immigrants that, you know, we're just starting to tap into now.